Chinese restaurants closing down becoming a trend, investors left empty-handed. EV industry in China is overcrowded, companies are being eliminated. Taiwanese businessman loses $2.2 million investment due to forced demolition in China. Anniversary of the Sitong Bridge incident, where is Peng Lifa? Commemorations around the world, Beijing in turmoil. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Chinese restaurants closing down becoming a trend, investors left empty-handed. The economic downturn in China has cast a negative shadow over various sectors of society, and the food service industry is no exception. In recent years, a multitude of mainland restaurants have been forced to close their doors. According to data from Taiwanese, there are now over 2.02 million new restaurant enterprises, primarily focusing on hot pot, soft drinks, and barbecue. However, many enthusiastic entrepreneurs eagerly join the market, only to sadly shutter their businesses a few months later, packing away chairs and refrigerators. The resale value of equipment from these closed establishments falls significantly short of their initial investments. Nonetheless, as doors close for most restaurant owners, they swing open with opportunities for those who can capitalize on this trend. The equipment recycling business has emerged, and Mr. Gouge stands out as a prime example. He operates an equipment recovery business in the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region and astutely recognized this trend. Renting a 5,000 square meter warehouse in Beijing, he transformed equipment recovery into a profitable venture. Gouge frequently receives messages from some restaurant owners reaching out to inquire about equipment recovery and requesting his assistance in collecting equipment or assessing its value. Others are lured in by short videos, seeking his expertise in analyzing the operational challenges facing their restaurants. Despite equipment recycling being Gouge's livelihood, in the face of the harsh reality, he still empathizes with these restaurant owners. He made a rough estimate that since June and July of this year, the daily average number of users inquiring about equipment recycling has exceeded 20. This suggests that an equal number of catering enterprises may be on the brink of bankruptcy. Another catering equipment recycler, Lu Chang, pseudonym. He has dismantled and recycled inventory for the past 10 years. He recalled one particularly memorable incident that occurred in mid-June at a braised food restaurant. An elderly man, who had invested 230,000 yuan, stood there with a hammer and forcefully shattered a red light box mounted on the wall. He received only 1,800 yuan in return. The old man's face was etched with an indescribable sense of disappointment. The profit margin of the equipment batch that Lu Chang recovered is less than 50%. From a business perspective, these items are deemed not worth 1,800 yuan. In the past week, Lu Chang received inquiries from 5 franchised stores for equipment recovery, including coffee shops, hot pot restaurants, and braised food outlets. These business owners couldn't bear the financial burden of allocating to online platforms and renting. As a result, they decided to close shops. Lu sensed that the collective enthusiasm for opening a new store had suddenly waned. It's possible that after engaging in a tug-of-war for several years or months of opening and closing stores, nobody dared to venture in blindly. An operations staff member of a franchised brand in Jiaxing, Zhejiang Province, revealed that out of the nearly 300 stores they open each year, fewer than 10% of them manage to survive for more than a year. Gouge and Lu initially thrived in their equipment recycling business in the catering industry. However, with the entry of more competitors, they encountered heightened competition and associated difficulties. After July of the same year, they realized that a growing number of people nationwide were focusing on device recycling. In the face of intense competition, the shortcomings of the catering equipment recycling industry became apparent. Many times, the cost of recycling surpassed the selling price. In Gouge's business chain, the gross profit should have exceeded 50%. After accounting for expenses like rent, transportation, rebates, maintenance, and after-sales support, the net profit dwindled to approximately 10%. Given the current circumstances, the net profit was only half of the expected amount. Additionally, Gouge noticed that the growing use of pre-made dishes in restaurants was becoming a significant influence on the industry's future. With the increasing reliance on pre-made dishes, there was a decreasing demand for certain cooking and food preparation equipment in the recycling market. He likened the situation to an uncertain future, where no one could predict what lay ahead. EV industry in China is overcrowded. Companies are being eliminated. The Chinese EV industry is overcrowded, with approximately 200 car manufacturers vying in a fiercely competitive market. Many of these players entered the market between 2018 and 2020. China tech giants like Huawei and Xiaomi invested in the industry, and real estate developer Evergrande also has an EV unit. During the pandemic lockdowns in 2022, competition escalated as Tesla cut prices, leading to many local EV carmakers following the move. Nike Asia cited research from U.S. consulting firm Alex Partners, which anticipates that, by 2030, less than 20% of 160-plus Chinese EV brands will achieve financial viability. Recently, troubled Chinese electric vehicle (EV) startup WM Motor has filed for bankruptcy, underscoring the difficulties faced in the highly competitive EV market that once positioned it as a rising star in the industry. According to the South China Morning Post, citing calculations made by China Business News, intense competition from major EV brands has led to the closure or financial distress of at least 15 prominent Chinese EV startups, including WM Motor, collectively capable of producing 10 million cars. According to the Post, He Xiaopeng, CEO of EV startup Xpeng, stated in April that, by 2027, only 8 EV manufacturers would remain in the market, as smaller brands wouldn't be able to compete with larger ones in the rapidly expanding industry. According to Bloomberg, obsolete EVs are being abandoned and accumulating in various regions of China due to intense competition and the discontinuation of government subsidies. China accounted for a significant share of the global EV market, registering two-thirds of the total 5.4 million EVs sold last year. Additionally, according to Politico, it holds a dominant position in the global car battery market, commanding approximately 76% of the market share. However, in several key markets outside China, Chinese EV makers face growing obstructions from local governments. In the United States, Chinese EV manufacturers face challenges competing with local brands, primarily because of the substantial 27.5% tariff introduced during the Trump administration to safeguard American carmakers. In Australia, the government has taken measures to restrict Chinese investment by preventing the acquisition of a local lithium producer and stopping a Chinese investor from raising its stake in a rare earth mine. Furthermore, the Indian government has thwarted investment plans by prominent Chinese EV manufacturers like BYD and Great Wall Motor in the country. Nevertheless, in Europe, Chinese EVs benefit from a reduced tariff of 10% and favorable green policies, which have created opportunities for their expansion within the European Union. Consequently, European automakers find it challenging to compete in the EV sector within their own market, predominantly against Chinese rivals. On October 4, the European Commission officially launched an anti-subsidy probe into Chinese EVs. Last month, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said, global markets are now flooded with cheaper Chinese electric cars. And their price is kept artificially low by huge state subsidies. Taiwanese businessman loses $2.2 million investment due to forced demolition in China. A Taiwanese businessman lost 20 years of hard work and an investment of 16 million yuan, $2.2 million, in the western province of Xinjiang after the regime forcibly demolished his factory without warning in 2019. After struggling for 4 years to obtain compensation, Beijing's answer remained that he had illegally exploited the land. The victim, Mr. Wang, who requested the use of an alias for fear of reprisal, said, "It's a lie, I have all the documents to prove they lied." Mr. Wang explained, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, will dump you after they're done with you. He said he hopes to find justice by exposing Beijing's crimes. Betting on China proves the wrong decision. Mr. Wang said he regrets the business decisions he made 20 years ago. According to Mr. Wang, he was pro-CCP at the time, but said this incident has taught him the cruelty of the communist regime and its philosophy. He said, "Now I know why we must oppose the CCP." His Xinjiang factory mainly produced products related to environmental protection in China's petroleum industry. When he returned to Taiwan in 2019 to further his children's education, his factory was completely demolished without warning. Mr. Wang said, "I had worked hard in China for 20 years, the most precious time of my life. But everything was inexplicably destroyed overnight." The daughter of high-ranking party cadres, his wife also had a sibling on the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, an institution of internal control within the CCP, while a distant relative is a deputy mayor. Despite her family background of some power and social influence, his wife also found that her relatives distanced themselves from her after the demolition. Mr. Wang said, "I realized the CCP could turn against you in a split second." Mr. Wang sought governmental assistance from Taiwan. The Ministry of Economic Affairs, the Mainland Affairs Council, and the Straits Exchange Foundation on the island have all contacted him, but there has been hardly any progress. According to Mr. Wang, Beijing never responded to the official inquiries from Taiwan. Mr. Wang then tried to communicate with the relevant CCP offices, such as the Taiwan Affairs Office of the State Council, through commercial channels. Mr. Wang said, their attitude on the phone has been reluctant. He also employed a law firm in Beijing, hoping to exercise his rights through legal channels. He said, "Actually, my request is very simple. I want my 16 million yuan back. China should compensate me for my loss." He said, "It took me 2 years to retrieve the documents because of the lockdown. I wanted to expose their lies so that people are aware of it." He stressed that Beijing would extend a great deal of understanding and courtesy to Taiwanese businessmen to begin with, but it won't last long after the economic development meets their goal. China, a bad production market. Mr. Wang went to China at the early stage of the communist regime's so-called reform and opening up, a period when China's economy was really booming, he said. But Chinese wages have risen, and the cost of welfare and benefits for employees has also skyrocketed. Together, they have made China a much less competitive market for manufacturing. He said that many Taiwanese businesses have chosen to relocate their production lines to Southeast Asia. Mr. Wang said, coupled with the collapsing Chinese economy and real estate, many more people have lost confidence in China. He said the overall economic outlook in China is quite negative. He said, exports are down, there are ongoing sanctions by the United States, and the forced demolitions could happen at any time, to anyone. Anniversary of the Sitong Bridge incident, where is Peng Lifa? Commemorations around the world, Beijing in turmoil. On the first anniversary of the Sitong Bridge incident in Beijing, commemorative events were organized around the world. These events called on the Beijing authorities to release Peng Lifa and urged countries worldwide to listen to the Chinese people's pursuit of democracy. Meanwhile, Beijing is in an atmosphere of heightened tension. On October 14, more than 10 individuals in the UK gathered on London Bridge, as reported by Radio Free Asia and Voice of America, VOA. They unfurled banners that echoed the slogans previously displayed by Peng Lifa on Sitong Bridge in Beijing on October 13, just before the 20th National Congress of the Chinese Communist Party. These slogans conveyed messages such as "We want to eat, not nucleic acid tests; we want freedom, not lockdowns; we want dignity, not lies; we want reform, not the Cultural Revolution; we want votes, not a dictator; we want to be citizens, not slaves; and boycott classes, strike, and impeach the dictatorial traitor Xi Jinping." The event's organizers, including Evelyn, who leads the China Deviants, an anti-communist organization formed by students and young people during the White Paper Revolution, called upon the international community to focus on Peng Lifa and the Chinese people's call for democracy. She said, "We haven't forgotten Peng Lifa, and we're here to draw everyone's attention to China, to the ongoing events in China." Then she led chants at the scene, asking, "Where is Peng Lifa?" Chinese participants in the commemorative event responded by saying, "We are all Peng Lifa." The event garnered significant attention from passers-by. According to reports from Radio Free Asia, the same commemorative events also took place in Glasgow, the United States, New York, Boston, and Vancouver, Canada. Messages on the overseas social media platform X, formerly Twitter, indicated that activities in support of Peng Lifa were organized in front of the Chinese consulates in Los Angeles, the United States, and Auckland, New Zealand. Chairman of the House Committee on the CCP, Mike Gallagher, said, "The world needs to know Peng's story, and we demand dignity, not lies." The organizer of the China Deviants Organization and human rights scholar, Ma Yue, told VOA that the fear we face here is likely not even 1% of what Mr. Peng endured at the time. "I openly use my real name here, and all of this is insignificant compared to what he endured. Thus, it is imperative that we remember Mr. Peng." On the X platform, some users expressed their support for Peng Lifa to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize as the Sitong Bridge warrior. They stated, amidst the severe control and ruthless persecution of dissidents by the Chinese Communist Party, Peng Lifa fearlessly and eloquently voiced the most potent call for opposition to nucleic acid tests, lockdowns, dictator Xi Jinping, and the one-party authoritarian rule of the CCP. He is destined to leave a lasting legacy in history as he champions freedom and democracy in China. Meanwhile, these days, Beijing finds itself in an atmosphere of heightened tension. Several users on the X platform reported on the 13th that a significant number of plainclothes officers are present near the Sitong Bridge, conducting random phone inspections. They advised everyone to exercise caution. Another netizen recounted that he was subjected to a search under the bridge, although there was no incriminating content on my phone. The plainclothes officers went through my phone gallery filled, and he was uncertain about their thoughts. Yet another netizen expressed their intention to take a few photos but was instructed by plainclothes police to delete the pictures. Talking about the Sitong Bridge incident, Peng Lifa was apprehended by the police, and his whereabouts have remained unknown since. According to a recent report by VOA, Peng Lifa's wife and daughter are under intense surveillance in Beijing, and the authorities have not disclosed any information regarding legal procedures or actions taken. Peng's immediate and extended family, as well as neighbors, are also under tight scrutiny and have chosen to remain silent. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths, and thank you for tuning in.